Well, we were talking about the WrestleMania build and that we certainly didn't see that it was a masterpiece this year. But for the benefit of those who might not have been watching all the build-up that we've been muddling through and trying to skip most of it, what is the entire card for WrestleManias this year? What's night one and what's night two? What have we got to look forward to or potentially avoid?
Not to taint what you're going to say, but I have to say, looking at this,
You used the word taint.
not only is this underwhelming, but there's no good reason why this couldn't be one card on one night. So here it is, night one. In the order that they are listed on Wikipedia, for the WWE Raw Women's Championship, Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair.
Okay, well, if normally when I hear women's something, I'm like, Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. Becky is obviously one of the more over personalities they got. The people love Bianca Belair. The people will probably be into it. I would think it's probably going to be, as the women's championships go, one of the better matches. I don't know that I would crawl across broken glass with Shiite Muslim terrorists dogging my footsteps just to be able to get the opportunity to see this. But since it's on a show that we're going to be watching, I don't think it'll stink. Did I give that a full-throated enough endorsement?
If you call that an endorsement, sure.
Sure.
Match 2, Rey and Dominic Mysterio versus The Miz and Logan Paul.
Rey Mysterio is an all-time great and has his own niche. Nobody's ever been like Rey Mysterio, right? Including his son, poor Dominic. I see that kid working at Best Buy. I see him looking natural in a fucking collared shirt selling stuff at Best Buy. I don't see Logan Paul being a polished professional wrestler, since he's an athlete and he's probably going to try hard, but this is going to be a deal where Miz and Rey try to get the majority of the work done. Dominic's going to do the best he can, and they're going to set up a couple of things for Logan Paul to look like he knows what he's doing, which basically accomplishes the goal that they do every year, where they make a celebrity, no matter what their line of endeavor, look like that they can actually wrestle. I know Logan Paul's a big deal, but is Logan Paul against the Mysterio? Just because Logan Paul is on a wrestling show, is that going to do box office bonanza business, or would it have had to have been Logan Paul against somebody that they may believe and want to see kick Logan Paul's ass? Do you see anybody thinking that Rey Mysterio or Dominic are going to give Logan Paul a proper drubbing?
Well, to your earlier point, if you're going with the idea that Logan Paul has a big fan base and you're going to use him because of that, I don't know if this is a way to use him that's going to cause any of those fans to go, wow, I really got to buy that WrestleMania show. Actually, now that I think about it, you don't have to say that at all. I really have to go to Peacock and click that WWE button and go find that WrestleMania show. If he was in the main event and it was pushed like that, and I'm not saying you should have done this, but if it was something where they got a lot of publicity for it, then it pays for itself without even knowing what they're paying him. But I don't really think, I don't think any of his fans are really like, oh my God, I can't wait to see him in there with the Miz and the Mysterios. I don't think so.
That's what I'm saying. A feature, it doesn't have to be a main event, but a feature match against some. And they couldn't really have a single match because he don't know how to work. But stick the guy in a tag. But I haven't seen poor Dominic. To me, I don't get it. I really don't. And I don't see why we've got the Rolling Stones, ladies and gentlemen. The Rolling Stones will appear on our program. They'll be doing cooking. Mick's going to do a meatloaf. Keith will have some interesting brownies. You know, yes, they're celebrities. Everybody knows who they are. Do we want to watch them cook? That's the thing. I will see. We'll find out. What's next?
The next match, a grudge match. The third match listed here for WrestleMania Night 1. Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin with Madcap Moss.
All right. Again, we liked Drew McIntyre when they were pushing him. He beat Brock Lesnar, looked like a dominant guy. Then all of a sudden, several weeks later, they said, well, maybe we shouldn't have done that. And they started beating him again. And now he's been interminably entwined, inexorably intertwined with Happy and Mosh Pit. And even if Corbin and Mosh Pit were really good wrestlers, those gimmicks prevent anybody from wanting to see anything they do, don't they? Who's watching that shit?
It doesn't appeal to me.
Well, so hopefully Drew will win.
But they've successfully made me not care about Drew McIntyre. And when I watched his promo on SmackDown, I never realized this before, he delivers his lines the same way Randy Orton does. Go watch a Drew McIntyre interview and a Randy Orton interview back to back. They deliver their lines the exact same way.
Hey, there you go. Somebody talented in the audience. If we're wanting to make these deep fakes, go make a deep fake of Drew McIntyre doing a Randy Orton promo and vice versa. Let's see if we can tell the difference.
Well, Jim, while no one's looking forward to that match, perhaps nobody will also look forward to the next match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. The champions, Jimmy and Jey Uso, defend their championships against Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs.
I was not the booger. Not the booger. Okay, so you've got, again, 5 or 6 years ago, people were throwing babies in the air when old Shaky Nakamura decided to come to the WWF. And now he looks like an elderly, potentially physically infirm, spastic Japanese fellow being played to the ring by a fucking tie-dyed, muscle-bound, guitar player named Booger. And there's the Usos. That's for one of the, how many tag team titles they have now? They got SmackDown, they got Raw, they got one of the 3 tag team champions in the company.
Well, there's also women's tag team champions. Don't forget that.
I'm sorry, one of the 6 tag team. You're talking me out of wanting to watch these shows. Now you realize this.
Hold on.
Can we rethink WrestleMania?
Let me talk you back into it. Match 5 on night 1 of WrestleMania 38, as some may know it, or I think as Vince McMahon says, don't use any numbers. For the SmackDown Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair defends against Rowdy Ronda Rousey.
We wanted to see that a lot more in concept than we have in execution, but as we mentioned a little bit earlier, the match still will probably carry the day, even if the build has been rotten. Ronda Rousey is putting no effort, has no oomph or passion or emotion in her speaking because she probably A, doesn't care, or B, doesn't feel like she does it very well and she's right or whatever. But as an athlete, she'll probably put some pride in that performance, and Charlotte is going to do everything she can to steal the show because she's in position to. As I told her dad one time in the airport the night after his match with Luger on a Clash of Champions, Nate, you stole the show, but it was petty theft. It'll be a good match. I don't know if I would have pulled over off a busy interstate and stopped my entire life to fucking watch it, but it'll probably be a pretty good match.
Those 5 matches, plus on night 1, on the KO show with Kevin Owens, special guest Stone Cold Steve Austin.
And obviously that'll be the last thing that we see. It better be. What on the lineup that you just read is going to follow Steve Austin coming out and farting live?
I don't think you can. I don't think you can follow that with anything. Not on this lineup. No way.
No. So, hey, if Fritz Von Erich came back from the dead and clawed fucking Gary Hart, maybe they'd pop for that. But otherwise, yeah, I think that's
Gary Hart would be coming back from the dead as well. It would be two zombies fighting in Texas Stadium.
Hey, two zombies in Texas Stadium would actually be more exciting than what you've just read to me.
Then why bring back zombie Gary Hart when you could bring back zombie Gene Kiniski and do a real big rematch?
Well, because Kiniski didn't have as much heat as Gary Hart did.
Well, that's true.
They might have wanted to see Fritz win the world title from Kiniski, but they didn't want to see him just hospitalize Kiniski like they want to see him hospitalize Gary Hart. So if you're going to book a zombie match, Brian, go for the heat.
Well, let's see if Night 2 will make you feel like a zombie who needs to be hospitalized. Jim, a fatal four-way...
I wish we had a defibrillator sponsor, because I'm going to need some kind of shock therapy about halfway through this thing.
A fatal four-way tag team match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship.
Oh, my God.
The champions, Queen Zelina and Carmella, versus Sasha Banks and Naomi, versus Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, versus Natalya and Shayna Baszler.
So what you're saying to me is if that's the first match on Night 2, I can pull a Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman and show up late.
Well, no, I don't think so. I think this is WrestleMania. You have an obligation. You have to watch all these shows. It's WrestleMania.
But then I'd have an obligation to talk about that match. And then our people, the people, would feel some obligation to listen to me talk about it, and I wouldn't want to do that to them.
But you have Rhea Ripley, you have Liv Morgan, you have Sasha Banks, Shayna Baszler.
We have Rhea Ripley, lost in the forest, can't see her for all the trees.
Sasha Banks is good, and Liv Morgan's good too. And Shayna Baszler you've liked before she was a vampire, she was pretty good.
There's 4 fucking tag teams, 8 girls, all fucking doing random shit. It's going to be and instead of a multi-man match, it's going to be a multi-woman match. Who's pulled one of those off lately, as in the last several years?
Well, we'll see what goes on there, but in the next match, it's anything goes.
Of course it is.
Match 2 on Night 2, Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn.
I'm glad they didn't run out of wrestlers to fight the celebrities. I mean, again, Sami Zayn is going to try to come up with, and he's not a stupid guy. He's going to try to come up with all kinds of shit that this fucking goofy middle-aged moron, reality, not even reality, there's nothing about Jackass that was real, except their lack of mental capacity. He's going to try to figure out some shit the guy can do, and it's going to look like some green mark fan doing wrestling shit and high risk stuff because that's his gimmick. And I just refuse to believe that there are any fans of Johnny Knoxville or anything that he's ever done that would cause them to want to go out of their way to see this program. Fucking idiot over a crew of complete idiots.
I do think he has fans. However, if you were going to use him in a WrestleMania to maximize his potential, it probably should have been 15 years ago. Not now.
From the looks of him, maybe 20.
Maybe 20.
And didn't he's the one that came out and said also he got a bunch of brain damage doing another one of his Jackass stunts. So now they're awful strict on the wellness program, except when some jack-off that's never wrestled before, but he's been on a TV show, comes in and wants to jump off something. Oh, sure. Turn your fucking medulla oblongata into a pile of Jell-O. We don't care. It's publicity.
Well, we will see how the wellness program is applied to the next match. Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory.
Okay, I'm actually looking forward to that. Because Theory obviously is a prodigy, and Pat McAfee, we saw him, he had 2 matches. And one was
Adam
a multi-man match, but the other one with Adam Cole, he carried his end and more. So, and he loves the business. He's actually had training. He's trained under Rip Rogers on his own before he even got involved with the WWE. So that'll probably be interesting. And Theory, even though he's green, you can't lose him. They've tried to lose him, and he sticks right with whatever. So if he can hang with Finn Balor, I would think that he would he'd be able to get something out of Pat McAfee.
Match 4 on night 2 of WrestleMania. A triple threat tag team match for the Raw Tag Team Championship.
Wait a minute. There's 3 of them where there's 4 in the other one.
Right. Well, the champions, RK Bro, comprised of Randy Orton and Riddle, will take on the Street Profits of Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, as well as Alpha Academy, Chad Gable, and Otis.
There are parts in there that you could actually pull out and put together something with, but all of them together at the same time. I can't be sexist, so I said the same thing about the multi-woman matches. I'll say about the multi-man matches. Nobody does them well, so I don't know why they keep doing them at all. And this one will be another one.
Well, speaking of another one, in a grudge match, Edge takes on AJ Styles.
This could be, what do they call them, a sleeper? Not to put you to sleep, but both those guys are incredible talents in the ring. I don't know, the writers took over and suddenly Edge lost his mind and, tried to kill AJ because what was his reason? He wanted the best AJ, so that's why he's going to make him mad or whatever the fuck. He was a beloved veteran that came back to get even along with his wife with nasty heels, and now 2 months later, he's goddamn a lunatic, tried to kill AJ Styles. But if they just let him get in the ring and have a match, and they don't try to reinvent the wheel, make it cinematic, go on too long, put too much drama, where somebody's conflicted about whether they ought to stuck a rusty fishing knife up somebody's ass or not, and just let them have a match, it'll probably be very, very good.
Before I get to the final match currently listed for the 2 nights of WrestleMania, and I think you probably see why I said this was A, underwhelming, and B, there's no good reason why this couldn't all be on one night. If everyone needs to go 20 minutes, you're doing it wrong. WrestleMania 3 was great. How many of those matches went under 10 minutes?
Cut the fucking entrances down, and you'd have time for matches without having a 6-hour show.
One of the matches not listed here is the one we all presume will be happening. Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes. I would guess maybe it would be night 1 just because there are 5 matches in the Austin segment, and night 2 there are 6 matches listed. But we should mention that match unannounced here a week before the pay-per-view event. But everyone presumes that match will happen, Jim.
And the question is how and why. Again, they've done all this falderall of Seth Rollins pitching a fit because he didn't have a spot at WrestleMania, to the point where then he fights his best friend to host his best friend's interview show and blah, blah, blah. Seth Rollins is a heel. Has been portrayed as a heel, has been acting like a heel, even though he's been interacting with other heels and baby faces willy-nilly. But if Cody shows up, are they expecting the people to really cheer him? Because to the WWE fans, are they mad at anybody that has been responsible for AEW? You see how they joust with each other on... Well, I'm just wondering, you see how they all joust with each other on the internet? The AEW fans think the WWE sucks, which it does. And the WWE fans think that AEW sucks, which it does. But they both think that their own promotions are good, which they're not. So the question becomes now, who's the babyface? Who's the heel? How do they just present this on that weekend without an angle or some explanation? Does Cody just drop by to say hello? And does Seth come out and say, now he's on WrestleMania and I'm not? Well, let's fight. How do they do that? Who's going to cheer for who? How is Cody going to be presented, if he even indeed is? Or if this has all been a massive, tug on our pud?
Can I book it?
Please, go ahead.
In Cody fashion, let me tell you how it would happen if Cody was in charge. Seth goes to the ring laughing and dancing, the apocalypse party boy himself. He's in there doing whatever he does and saying whatever he says. And all of a sudden, you hear, "Who told you it was open mic night, bitch?" And out comes Brandy. That's what we need. Well, beyond that, Jim, the final match. Night 2 of WrestleMania. Champion versus champion, title for title. Winner takes all to unify the WWE Championship and the Universal Championship. Brock Lesnar, WWE Champion, versus Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman. Roman Reigns being the Universal Champion.
And obviously, this is what's drawing any money that's being drawn, and it's what most everybody wants to see. And how's it going to come out? And of course, again, even though I'm looking forward to something, I have a feeling they're going to fuck it up after the fact by doing some kind of screwy shit where there's still two champions, or where they re-establish a secondary champion or whatever. Yes, they need to unify the title. There needs to be one world champion. There only needs to be one guy in the fucking company. And this is the two biggest box office attractions in the business now. And they're probably going to have a heck of a match. They got Heyman in the corner there to advise both. I don't mean publicly, but I mean, he's obviously going to be heavily involved in setting this thing up. So this will probably be a show stealer. Whether the case is it's petty theft or not remains to be seen. But that's what everybody's looking forward to. And I just hope there's some way that they don't screw it up and they keep one dominant universal champion or whatever they're going to call it going forward for the good of the business in general and the company, instead of all this ridiculousness of multiple champions everywhere. They ought to fucking go down and have an elimination series and come up with one set of women's champions, one set of tag team men's champions, one set of everybody. And then they can have the U.S. title or the Intercontinental title or whatever, but you can't have multiple world champions just because they're on a different channel. It's ridiculous. Or in the case of NXT, same channel as the other show, just different roster. It's ludicrous. Having said that, Brock and Reigns, and I'm predicting Roman Reigns, by the way, gets his hand in the air.
Well, some would say ludicrous, but others would say stupendous, and that is the two nights of WrestleMania. Currently, 11 matches listed in the Steve Austin segment, but with the Cody Rhodes match, that's 12 matches. There's no reason this needs to be 2 nights other than the desire to sell 2 nights worth of tickets.
Yes, and also the desire to indulge everybody in having 17-minute entrances and letting them go 20 minutes bell to bell when people didn't really want to see the thing start to begin with. But that's, we're making content. We're just filling time now. It's not, when I first got in the business, Bill Dundee said to me, we say how long, we're not selling time, we're selling action. Get it right and go. Now we're not selling action, we're selling time. Stay out there until we tell you can leave.
Do you think it would have helped modern wrestlers if they had worked Fort Worth TV?
Yes, then they wouldn't ever want to go long ever again. Because sometimes on that Fort Worth TV, you were out there, you felt like this is some level of hell that I'm in perpetually, and we will never be allowed to go home. Hey, try a 25-minute 2 out of 3 fall cold singles match between fucking Brian Adidas and Dennis Condrey. Dennis was a goddamn genius and a magician, but there's only some things even Merlin can't do. Yeah, you had plenty of time to go out and go as long as you wanted on that program, and it would break you of the habit. But Brian, I'm just thinking after 2 nights of this, I got to be honest, I don't know whether some of those matches are going to go down very smooth or not. I'm worried about you and me both, our digestion.
Well, there's no need to worry because we obviously have a solution to any digestive issues.
Well, now it just depends. It depends on how bad this WrestleMania weekend might be, because even a great daily symbiotic might not be able to overcome the indigestion that we're going to suffer over this. But at least, as you said, we do have access to a broad spectrum, 2-in-1, probiotic and prebiotic daily synbiotic. You'll see a lot of biotics here, folks. Antibiotics, probiotics, prebiotics, all kinds of biotics. It's a proprietary formulation of 24 distinct probiotic strains in scientifically studied dosages. Of course, I'm talking about Seed. Folks, the 2-in-1 capsule that protects the probiotics through the digestive system to ensure delivery to the colon. And that's what we're talking about here. Delivery to the colon. The colon has to be receptive of everything. And if your colon receives daily deliveries, you're going to feel better, look better, sound better, smell better. You're certainly going to be in a better mood. If you've taken a probiotic before and never felt a difference, it's likely because the good bacteria was not surviving through your GI tract to go straight to your colon. Well, folks, I'm here to tell you right now, in the most forceful way, that if you listen to Brian Last and Jim Cornette, you will have things delivered to your colon on a regular basis, right straight through. No detours, no stopping, straight to the fucking colon. Because a daily synbiotic will support benefits in and beyond the gut. Seed will support ease of bloating. If you start bloating up until you're floating like that little delinquent in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, you don't have to start burping and farting because Seed will ease your bloating.
Augustus.
You won't. Yeah, that's what his little prick's name was.
Little prick.
Yeah, well, he did what he wasn't supposed to do. Don't do that, or we'll deliver some shit to your colon, too. Seed will also support healthy regularity.
It was a river of fudge I think he was eating from.
A river of fudge. Well.
And then he got stuck in the drainage.
Fudge in, fudge out. You know what they say. The healthy regularity will keep you in the bathroom pretty much all your daily life, at least every waking hour. But you'll notice that you're, what?
No. Let's just make sure we let people know there's parts of this that are joking. You will be in the bathroom no extraordinary amount of time, no all day or anything. You will just be more regular.
No, you'll be in and out. You'll feel like it's safe to leave, and then moments later, you'll be back again.
No, don't say that. It'll be safe to leave the bathroom. You can
You're aided by the ease of evacuation. That may be a polite way of saying this shit's going to fly out of you. And boy, I'll tell you what, make sure there's a splatter guard in the bathroom.
Stop. Will you stop? Listen,
weeks.
You can use this product comfortably without worrying about needing splatter guards or easy exit without your consent.
Yes. Well, no, you'll consent to the stuff exiting. You'll know it's leaving when it leaves. You'll know about it. The ease of evacuation. And also, there'll be no problem with a splatter guard. Paint the interior of your bathroom a good neutral brown. You'll be fine. And it'll also support the Seed's daily synbiotic will also support your gut barrier, your skin health, heart health, and your micronutrient synthesis. So if you're synthesizing micronutrients right now, don't use those chemicals you get at the hardware store or keep under your sink, because those are flammable and they can blow up during the process. Instead, a good natural micronutrient synthesis will happen in your stomach with only the briefest of flames and hotness. Anyway, start a healthy new habit today and then visit seed.com/drive and use the code DRIVE to redeem 20% off your first month of Seed's Daily Synbiotic. Seed.com/drive. Use the code DRIVE. You're going to get 20% off your first month. You're going to shit like a goose and love it. You're going to have a healthy gut as opposed to rotten gut or all the other things that can happen to your gut. You want to take care of your gut. I got a gut feeling about people's guts. They're important. So, seed.com.